I've got all these draft profiles lined up to cover, and I originally was not going to talk about Gradey Dick because my perception of the player was that he was going to end up in the top 10, at worst 11 to the Orlando Magic. But now all of a sudden, there's the potential that he falls beyond the Magic and lands at 13 if the Raptors want to take him. But there's also some reports starting to come up that perhaps the Raptors are so interested they may be willing to trade up to get him. So let's talk about the interest in Gradey Dick, and let's talk about what a trading up to get him might look like for Toronto. This is a good player. This is a talented player, and he does address one of the needs that the Raptors have. The Raptors need shooting. They need movement shooting. I'm a bit of a fan of Jordan Hawkins as a result of that, but Gradey Dick seems like he is just the elevated version of that with a much better inside game and, like Van Hoot is saying in chat, some ability now to become a bit of a playmaker in those positions as well, whereas Jordan Hawkins is like really all he does is shoot the ball. Gradey Dick has a better interior game, has more in his bag, and reads the game really well, is a better defender as well. So as a result of all this, and the fit for Dick in Toronto seemingly being as good as it is, the Raptors are strong suitors for Gradey Dick if the Magic do pass on him in the 2023 NBA draft. I looked at recently at a mock draft from ESPN. Not my favorite for NBA draft coverage, but I recently looked at a mock draft where the Orlando Magic did go for Gradey Dick at 11. This was by Gavoni. What's his first name again? Just so we have that. His first name is, it's not on the, Jonathan Gavoni, of course. Jonathan Gavoni has Gradey Dick going to 11, but in his little blurb here about Gradey Dick, Toronto is mentioned. Should he slide past Orlando? I'll read it out specifically. Should Dick slide past Orlando, Toronto is believed to be a strong suitor. So Toronto seemed interested in the player. Toronto seemed to have interest in going for Gradey Dick at 13th overall. But will they have enough of an interest to trade up and get him? It makes sense for the Orlando Magic to go with Gradey Dick at that position. Adding in a movement shooter to play around Paolo Banchero and to play around Franz Wagner seems like a really good match. Also, if they want to start him, play him next to Markelle Fultz, the fit does make sense there for Gradey Dick. He's a very, very big shooting guard. He's like 6'7", 6'8", has a 6'9" wingspan, really big for the position, can also play as a small forward. That makes real good sense for the Raptors, but could we just go find a way to get him at number 10? The Dallas Mavericks have that 10th overall pick, and that is the one spot ahead of the Orlando Magic. So if the Raptors did want to trade up to get him, then absolutely there is the potential to go get that Dallas Mavericks pick. So let's just speculate here. The Mavericks could be looking to offload Josh Green and the number 10 pick for a really good fit with an all-defensive wing. And guess who has an all-defensive wing that they may be looking to trade right now? The Toronto Raptors. So the rumored trade here, not the rumored trade, the mock trade here is Tim Hardaway Jr., who has a horrible contract, by the way, Josh Green, who I'm a fan of. I like Josh Green, a number 10 pick, and a 2027 first-round pick. The Dallas Mavericks receive OG Anunoby. This is just a specific example. I really don't believe the Raptors would love Gradey Dick so much that they'd be willing to trade OG Anunoby to make sure they get him. But could there be something else possibly the Raptors could send over to get that 10th overall pick from the Mavericks? You know, for sure. How much do the Mavericks want more athletic bigs? Could Chris Boucher be somebody that's in play? I don't think so, but could he be in play? Potentially. Could he be in play along with somebody like Otto Porter Jr.? Could they have interest in Precious Achiuwa because they need rebounding? Certainly there's some ways that this kind of works out, but ultimately what I garner from this situation is those trades aren't great for the Raptors. They would have to really, really love the trade in order to go make that. And as much as I think Gradey Dick is a good prospect, as much as I think he'd be a good fit with the Raptors, I think there's a lot of great players that are going to be available around 13th overall. Gradey Dick is not the, with respect, he is not the must-have prospect to me at that position. So, you know, with the strong possibility that Orlando does pass and he is available at 13th, with that possibility in play, I don't think it's worth it to make that snappy decision to trade up for the 10th pick. You know, maybe you get to draft night and every indication is Orlando is going to draft him 11th overall. I still don't think he's worth it to move up. It's expensive to move up. The Raptors are really in no position to lose any of their depth right now. So to me, this isn't really something the Raptors would be considering. But I did find it interesting the Raptors are considering him at 13th overall when it really looked like a week ago even, it really didn't seem like he was going to go any further than the Orlando Magic. But and the perception was he'd go a little bit higher. There's a mock draft from a spot that I do like that has him going to the Utah Jazz at number 9. I won't completely rule out the possibility of Washington going with him at number 8. It even seemed like there's a potential for him to go 7 to Indiana. But now the range and where he could get drafted is a lot wider than expected. So, yeah, I agree. You don't trade up OG for 3 spots in round 1. I mean, you're not trading OG to get the 10th pick when you have the 13th pick. So those trades don't really make a lot of sense. Dallas want OG. Every team wants OG. Apparently the Sacramento Kings now want OG. The only real way you're getting OG is if you're putting together a massive offer. If you're putting together 3 first-round picks and a good player beside it. If you're putting together like the 7th overall pick and a future pick and Buddy Hield, or if it's like a top 4 pick, like it's going to be very difficult to pry OG Anunoby away from the Raptors. The 10th overall pick likely is not enticing enough, especially when you have to pick up that garbage Tim Hardaway Jr. contract in the process. But for Raptors fans, I'd keep an eye on Gradey Dick because, like I said, this is a player that I wasn't really going to want to cover because I just figured he wouldn't be in that area. But all of a sudden, Gradey Dick has the potential to fall all the way to 13th overall, and that'd be exciting. He'd fit us with a great. He's great size for his position, fits the team really well. 6'8", has a 6'9" wingspan. Makes a lot of sense for the Raptors to go in that direction. Can hold his own defensively, and he maybe doesn't have the highest of upsides of the people in the draft, but that can be a player that plays an elite role for your team going forward. Certainly am excited for the potential of what he could bring to the team. But out of all the guys I've looked at, once again, why trade up when there are going to be players? Like, what are the guys I'm about to list here is going to be available at 13? Cason Wallace, Kobe Buffkin, Jordan Hawkins, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Nick Smith Jr., Bilal Coulibaly. There are some excellent, excellent players available at 13th overall. I don't think you need to go fishing for that 10th overall pick. So as far as trading up in the draft, it seems very, very far-fetched to me. Like, 10th overall pick aside, it doesn't look like Portland want to trade the 3rd overall pick. It doesn't look like Houston really want to trade that 4th overall pick. I don't think the Raptors have a big hunger to move on from Siakam or OG at this present moment. I think, if anything, we're going to keep OG. If Siakam goes, it's a possibility, but there just hasn't been enough noise for me to suggest that something is in play for the Raptors right now. I think they're going to hang on to these guys for a while. And on draft night, as much as it may kind of annoy you, frustrate you, my guess is on draft night, the Raptors draft with the 13th overall pick and nowhere else.